It's the SNL Hall of Fame podcast with your host, Jamie Dew, Chief Librarian Thomas Senna, and featuring Matt Ardill. And now, curator of the hall, Jamie Dew.
Thank you so much, Doug DeNance. It is a great pleasure to be joining you all here outside the SNL Hall of Fame. If you wouldn't mind, as you cross the threshold, please take advantage of the mat out front and wipe those feet. The SNL Hall of Fame podcast is a weekly affair where each episode we take a deep dive into the career of a former cast member, host, musical guest, or writer and add them to the ballot for your consideration. Once the nominees have been announced, we turn to you, the listener, to vote for the most deserving and help determine who will be enshrined for perpetuity in the hall. And that's how we play the game. It's just that simple. This week, we are joined by our friend Jamie Burwood to discuss the bona fides of Cheri Oteri. But before we do that, we are going to talk to our friend Matt Ardill. And Matt, I've got a question for you, my friend. Are you ready? Because I've got two words for you. Cheri Oteri. Matt, What have you got?
Well, Cheri Oteri is 5'2", born September 19th, 1962, in what appears to be a SNL hotbed, Upper Derby, Pennsylvania, the hometown of Tina Fey. Yeah, so
the water there.
Yeah. It's just I guess there's something about that suburban experience that makes you crave making people laugh, or at least distracting yourself from being there. She grew up around music. Her father was a Nashville record producer and worked at AMN Records before joining the Groundlings. She earned 92 acting credits, 6 writing credits, 5 producer credits, and 4 soundtrack credits. She has played everything from the sidekick of Inspector Gadget to an animated Tooth Fairy. She is one of the folks from SNL to go on to Broadway, having starred in the production of Musical the Musical, and is a friend of Paul Reuben's, playing husband and wife on an episode of Ally McBeal. Went on to be nominated for the Best Dance Sequence at MTV's Movie Awards and the Teen Choice Award for Best Comedian.
Well, that's some cool stuff so far. Anything else on Cheri Oteri?
No, she's kept it pretty private. She's one of those SNL folks who's gone on to just step back and enjoy the show.
Well, we ask you to do the same. Step back and enjoy the show as we head to our friend Thomas Senna. Thomas, take it away.
Guys, thank you so much. We're so excited for this episode. Hello and welcome to the SNL Hall of Fame conversation portion of the episode. Today I am joined by an amazing guest, a mainstay at the SNL Hall of Fame for sure. Has been on advocated for a lot of great current SNL Hall of Famers. Actually, so like what, Will Ferrell? Jamie, how many people have you gotten into the SNL Hall of Fame? I think you're on a pretty good run.
I'm trying to think. We've definitely done quite a few episodes. I'd have to look to see what the actual track record is to know the percentage. Yeah, Will Ferrell got in.
Yeah, and you were on for Molly?
I was on for Molly. I don't think she got in, though. Did she?
Well, Molly's a new inductee.
Okay, in the latest. Yes. All right.
So Molly got in. Christopher Walken.
Yes, that was my episode.
You were my
yep.
So you're on a pretty good hot streak.
Okay.
I think.
Nice.
So I think you're the perfect person to come on and chat about Cheri Oteri. But I'm gonna formally welcome you, Jamie Burwood. Welcome back to the SNL Hall of Fame. How are you doing? How have you been?
I'm doing good. It's great to be back here this summer. Yeah, just having a good start to the summer, doing some beach time coming up. But yeah, it's been great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, beach time for all of us. That's what this summer is about. It's a beach time 2024. So I'm glad you're partaking as well. Is there anything you'd like to plug up top before we get started here talking about Cheri?
Yeah, I feel like TV show Graphs is still my go-to account on X, Twitter, Instagram, all of the places. TVShowGraphs.com. Yeah, has the whole library of a lot of the TV-related data deep dives I've done in the past, exploring a few new topics coming up soon. So hopefully as some of the summer travel slows down, there will be some new stuff up there soon. But yeah, otherwise I kind of have just been chilling the last few months. So enjoying the start of the summer.
Well, I think you've earned it. Your graphs and the website, that's like quite the rabbit hole. Like a true TV fan could spend a lot of time going down that rabbit hole. It's pretty cool. So you deserve it. Any sort of break that you get, you definitely deserve it, Jamie. So today, our nominee, like I mentioned, Cheri Oteri, right in your wheelhouse, Jamie. Like I said, you've covered the era a few times here on the SNL Hall of Fame. And of course, today, talking about somebody who's beloved to us, Cheri Oteri. Jamie, for you, like, what was it about Cheri Oteri that may have first got your attention when you saw her?
Yeah, I feel like the zaniness and how memorable her characters are. I feel like she's somebody that, in my opinion, doesn't get talked about enough. And in some ways, she is well recognized. Like, she has her best of collection. I feel like people do acknowledge her role in that era of SNL and just how important it is. But there's just something really captivating about her wackiness and the way that she commits to all of these characters that she does. And I think for me that was really what drew me in. Like, there's just something about watching a sketch with her where you can't quite look away.
Right.
In a good way, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think sometimes I feel like I might throw around the term underrated or underappreciated a lot, but I honestly think in Cheri's case, it fits. And I guess there are theories floating out there as to why she might be underappreciated, but if you actually look at her work, look at the type of performer that she was, I do think she probably should be talked about more and be held in higher regard than she is. So I really do think there's something to that, Jamie. It's not just like throwing out there like, she's a little underappreciated. Like with Cheri Oteri, I truly, truly think she is. So you, like, neither of us say that lightly.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like she's somebody who, just her role in that era, I hope that people recognize. And just, we've talked a little bit in the past in some of the earlier episodes, but just the role that she had in showing how funny female comedians on SNL can be, and just this willingness to go all out and commit fully. And I don't think she's the only one in her cast who does that. I feel like Molly will, many others embody that, but there's something to me special about Cheri in just the way that she went all in on things. And she's somebody who you could put her alongside Will Ferrell, and I would argue she doesn't get overshadowed. They match each other, and the chemistry just builds upon each other. And I feel like she had this knack for kind of elevating some of these sketches where she was working alongside other greats, other Hall of Famers. And she not only holds her own, but just makes things so much better.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to revive SNL, and we've talked about this before, prior to season 21, they did almost a full house cleaning. Like, Molly was a carryover, Norm was a carryover. There were maybe a few but it was pretty much cleaning house from season 20 to season 21. And Cheri, I always thought, crucial, like almost a performer like that's necessary for the revival remind people just how much that season 21 cast just revived this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it was just a shift in a different kind of comedy at a time where the show really needed it, right? Like, it was away from that kind of like meaner vibe, which had its time and place on the show, but I feel like there were just aspects that were starting to feel a little bit tired, starting to feel not really keeping up with like what people wanted to see. And I feel like the tone of the show really shifted into this very like character centric. We got lots of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, recurring sketches, recurring characters in this era. And I feel like Cheri in particular really embodied that kind of character actress, character comedian, and just not being afraid to be silly. And people responded to that really well, I think. And I think that was a big part of why that era is remembered so fondly.
Yeah, I think toward the end there, it got exhausting, just like a lot of that mean comedy, a lot of the bad boy, quote unquote stuff. And then we entered a stage, you're right, of like character driven, a lot of goofy, like a lot of goofball kind of comedy. It was very refreshing, and Cheri was such a vital part of that. As far as her path to SNL, Cliff's Notes, not a ton, honestly. Cheri seems a little private. Not a ton known about her personal life. She's from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia area, moved to LA in her 20s. She's a groundling, so she did a lot of quality sketch training before starting at SNL. Her audition was really great. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. It's on YouTube, so I encourage everyone to check that out. But her audition was like 8 minutes, and what she showed in her audition, she did 3 characters that ended up on the show, but right away you can see like why Lauren and everybody else who saw that audition were like, we got to have Cheri. So I don't know, Jamie, if you've ever seen the audition. I like to go look at auditions, but it's so good.
I do like I haven't watched hers. Yeah, or if I have it, it's definitely been a while, so I'll have to go back and do that.
Yeah, it's really fun. So she had a great audition. You could see why she got chosen for the cast. So she starts off 1995, season 21, Cheri Oteri, Will Ferrell, the rest of the crew. So I want to get into it. Like, what characters or sketches, Jamie, do you go to when you think about Cheri Oteri?
Yeah, so let me talk about a few characters, because I feel like, honestly, most of my favorite like Cheri sketches are around some of her well-known characters. And there are a few that are not, which we can talk about too, but I feel like for me, a few of the ones that stand out, Rita Del Vecchio, that like grouchy, I think Philadelphia is the vibe, woman who just is I don't know if mean's the right word, but just that typical like kind of street smart lady.
She's kind of like a little grumpy, but she's pretty likable at the same time. She's kind of that old lady who's like no nonsense. She doesn't take any crap from especially the neighborhood kids.
I'm going on the porch for 5 minutes apiece. The first one who calls me gets my slipper. Ooh, okay, you kids got the whole street to play ball on, but you gotta play in front of my house. That's okay, because I keep it now. Okay? I keep it. It's mine now. All right? Have your mother come get it. I hear you, smartass.
But there's something very likable about her, Jamie. Like, it almost, do you get the sense when you watch her do Rita Del Vecchio that it's like a one-woman play?
It is. I just, for some reason, that character in particular, and like she does all sorts of different brands of like out there characters, but for some reason, like that one I just feel like is a connection and just work. She does it so well, and the writing in most of the ones that she's done for her, I feel like have been really solid. I feel like they tend to incorporate the host in a really fun way.
Yeah.
Just kind of showing her amidst the neighborhood. I feel like you then see kind of the host pop up in either like the neighbor or a kid or it's about like all of these different like characters amidst her life. And it always just like feels really natural. Like I'm always happy when one of those sketches pops up in an episode. I'm like, oh, we get to spend some time with Rita. This is great.
Yeah, no, it's amazing world building. And sometimes you're right, they'll work in the host and everything, and every now and then a character will come by. A lot of times it's just her standing there, a lot of times by her front door, just like yelling at a neighbor. And Cheri's doing such a good job of filling in the other person's dialogue. So it's just her on the screen, but she's doing such a good job of making it a conversation that only on screen, only she's taking part in. Like, she's so skilled at that. And the whole world building, this is something that she auditioned with. She had this character. Cheri started building this whole world at the Groundlings. Like, that's just such a testament to her talents as like a creative mind, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the one with the screen door and like the kids who are coming up to the screen door repeatedly. That one always sticks with me for some reason. And you're right. That is another example where it's like, yes, you have kids coming up to the door, but she is like owning the comedy in each of those scenes and is having her like wild reactions to each one of those people coming up. So
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she even made in that particular installment, she even made like kind of a boring host, Steve Forbes, like a very boring host. She actually made him, like, incorporated him really well into the sketch. She ended up stealing one of the kids' money that was coming up to like take donations. She ended up like taking the money and all of that. Like, yeah, that was a really great one with Steve Forbes. She puts a lot of love into that character. I think that's a great first choice.
Yeah, she definitely does. And then I feel like for my second choice, and there's so many, but I just love Nadine. And in terms of like when I was in high school, and this era I was in high school in the early 2000s ish. So right around this era, the whole like simmer down now catchphrase was huge. Like, I just remember friends, I don't even know, like, when people first started saying it, I don't even think I really realized where it was coming from. And just, like, people embodying this character that she did on SNL, only to, like, later recognize that connection.
Excuse me. My husband's been in a motorcycle accident. I think he broke his wrist.
Yeah, I can't move it.
It's swelling up really badly.
Okay, everybody simmer down now.
Listen, I would love to simmer down now, but you see, my wrist is shattered, so I would encourage you to admit me now.
Sir, your sass is unappreciated here. So before your other wrist becomes shattered, I suggest you fill out these forms and have a seat and then simmer down. That's
right?
correct.
Thank you.
I love all of the Nadine sketches. I feel like the one with Garth Brooks is probably my favorite. Like returning things at the desk there. I forget the name of the store, but to me that's a classic one, and just it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, I love it. You're right. That whole the Simadana, like, just totally spread like wildfire. Always, like, people used to always do the impression where she's trying to start the car. Like, yeah, like, and then it goes simmer down. Yeah, there's all kinds of like different ways you could say simmer down now if you want to get creative. That definitely stuck. She only did it 3 times.
Yep,
and it caught on so well.
Yeah, I also love the line, the like Donna Summer, and how does her name appear in the phone book? Like, Summer Donna, like that to me is just great writing, great delivery, so much.
Yeah, all those strained ways to make the connection to simmer down now. I love it. There's 2, Jamie, that kind of when I think of Cheri Oteri, I really connect with. And I'm going to talk about the one that she did the most, Barbara Walters.
Yeah.
She did that one 21 times. I think last summer when the SNN, our friends at the SNN, did their character countdown, I believe Barbara Walters ended up on the list for good reason. I think that this is her best character, and something that Cheri said that she worked really hard at. She studied Barbara Walters quite a bit when she found out she was doing this, and there's been Barbara Walters impressions done on the show before. I think this is the quintessential one. What do you say about her Barbara Walters?
It's so good, and like I have heard that Cheri is somebody who is nervous about like the impression aspect of the show coming in, right? And that's not necessarily what you like maybe think of right away with her, but this is, I agree, one of the all-time best things that she did over her time in the show. I feel like it's a perfect example to me of an impression that like is very like draws from the real person very well, but then also like plays things up in a way that gives it a life of its own, so that it's not just like purely a copycat, but like becomes funny in its own right.
Fidel Castro and I were roommates my freshman year in college. And girlfriends, let me tell you, he may be brilliant, he may be stubborn, but what I remember most is that he had some funky B.O.
Whenever I see Fidel Castro, I just think he looks like an extra from MASH. I mean, you know what I mean, with that hat?
Don't look at me.
I just love any of the like View segments where she popped up. I feel like those were always just a good time and just like meant for comedy, meant for parody. It was great.
Yeah, I loved the View one specifically when she would get mad at Debbie Montanopoulos. And she would do things like she one time she told her to go get in the cage. That was a classic moment for me when she's like, enough. She's like, go get in the cage. Go now. And then Debbie Montanopoulos would just go do it. And just how she would kind of erupt at her. That was so funny. And then she would reference like casually spending time with famous people and historical figures. Like, I was in the hot tub with Fidel Castro when I found out that, or something like, just like the name dropping's wonderful. This Barbara Walters was one that could be used in so many different settings, Jamie. Like, I give points for that. If you develop a character or do an impression and it could be used on a talk show or Weekend Update or like, this is such a versatile character.
I agree. And again, it speaks to the theme of like when she pops up and you're excited to see that character. And I think it's one that I don't think anyone could really get sick of, or maybe somebody could, but I certainly did not get sick of this one ever. Mm-hmm. Like, I could see this every episode in her era and be happy with that.
Yeah, so this might be, like, if I was going to show one person an example of why I love Cheri, it might actually be her Barbara Walters. Like this one makes me so happy, for sure. Like, amongst many that make me so happy, and I'm sure that make you so happy. Like, what's another character that people just can't miss for Cheri?
Yeah, I feel like Colette Reardon is one that we should talk about. The prescription pill addict, lipstick smeared on the face. And this is true for a lot of Cheri's characters, but I feel like there's just like an aesthetic to like the characters she commits to. And like a lot of times in similar outfits, makeup, just like you see that person and you're like, okay, I get what this is trying to be. And then Cheri just, again, takes it to another level.
It's a good thing that the phone's on the fritz, because sometimes I got to shoot methadone so I can fire up my Toro leaf blower to clean my front lawn. Fool's a bitch, Dick. I don't care how you slice it.
Methadone? You ever try a rake? No, really?
Any poop, after 5 hours of methadone-fueled leaf blowing, I get kind of confused and start making long-distance phone calls.
I don't know how many of the Colette sketches there were. I know she appeared a few times maybe on Weekend Update and then a few standalone sketches.
I think maybe like five or so.
Okay, yeah.
It felt like more, honestly. It was such a lived-in character.
Yeah. I feel like super memorable one. There was one where I feel like a phone is involved, like you have pills coming out of the phone and she's trying to eat the pills, which amazing physical comedy. Just this type of character I feel like she does really well. And not in a hateful way. Like, it's a character that you kind of have to like walk that fine line with, right? Because it's like a little bit of a extreme scenario, but you come away just being like, oh my gosh, this character is fabulous and laughing all over.
Well, that's one thing that, when I had John Schneider on for the Kristen Wiig episode, and we talked about when she would do characters and impressions that she didn't come at it in a mean way. So we used as an example, like Target Lady for Kristen Wiig. That could have been done mean, but you can tell there was love put into that. And I think somebody like Colette, she's whacked out on all these pills and her hair's messed up, messy lipstick. She's always trying to hit on whoever, and but like there's still an element of just like it seems like Cheri has love for that character. She's not trying to totally be mean to those kind of people or whatever. It's just like all of her characters almost seem likable, even like as wacky as they are. That's such a gift, I think.
It is. It really is. I feel like you kind of see the other level of some of these characters, and you watch them and you laugh, but you also just are like, oh, I want to spend time in this world and with this person and just see what antics they're up to, and she did that so well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the prime examples to me of a comparison that I've made with Cheri. Kind of think she always reminded me of Mike Myers on screen. Like just her energy. If she was in a sketch, she was best as the focal point of the sketch. She and Mike both, like every now and then they would kind of play the straight character or the background, but that's not what they did. If it was a Mike Myers sketch or it was a Cheri Oteri sketch, I think, or maybe she had a co-pilot in Will Ferrell sometimes or Molly or something. But she had this Mike Myers energy about her that I see pop up in characters like Colette. I don't know if I'm off base. If we love to make comparisons as SNL fans, but Mike Myers and Cheri Oteri was always one that struck me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, like the leadership in the like, just like you said, sure you could put her in a background role, but it's almost a waste. Like you want to see her in that spotlight, and I feel like she has that kind of like magnetic quality.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's next on your list of beloved Cheri characters?
I feel like we gotta talk Spartan cheerleaders. We talked during the
Now's
Will
the
episode, but I feel like if you ask people on the street about Cheri, especially like more a casual fan or someone who maybe not like dedicated to this era as much, but that recurring sketch I feel like is just cemented into pop culture history in a really cool way. And I feel like whenever I go back and watch some of these, I am impressed at just how her and Will feed off of each other. It almost feels like improv in some ways. Like,
oh yeah,
as much as they're like, the writing is great, not to discount that, like it just feels like they are in the moment just having fun as two performers, just like each going off of each other. And there's just an energy to these ones to me that I feel like is hard to top.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, no, that's actually a credit to the writing that doesn't discount in any way. I think Paul Appel, who helped them write these, was probably the third Spartan cheerleader in these sketches. Like, she did an amazing job. But you're right, like showcasing Cheri's talents, unreal physical performer. The way sometimes that she would just leap into Will Ferrell's arms and she would do this weird pose, or Will Ferrell would just like carry her around in a weird way. Like, Cheri was just fearless. Such an amazing, fearless performer. I hope that when people see the cheerleader sketches, they're just not focused on Will, because Cheri's arguably topping his performance in this.
Yeah.
Honestly, I always thought Cheri was the better performer in these sketches specifically.
I agree, actually, and I'm not sure like how that dynamic played out in terms of like, was Will tempering in like letting her really be the super zany? And I mean, he was pretty zany too, so it's all relative, but I feel like that's the thing that surprises me the most rewatching these, is like everyone knows like Will Ferrell, he's huge, he's like had such a big career, and people think, okay, Spartan Cheerleader is him, but you watch these and you're like, oh my gosh, Cheri was killing it. And again, not only like matching him, but in some cases like going beyond, and that's really cool, because I think, again, not everybody thinks of that, but when you watch it's there. It really is.
Yeah. Oh my God, Ariana, can you believe summer's over already?
I know, Craig. I already missed my summer job at Kenny Rogers Roasters. I'm still getting the newsletter, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad my lifeguarding job is over. I did not enjoy taking off my shirt.
No. Craig, tomorrow morning, we are going to be real Spartan cheerleaders.
This has got to be our year. It was an awesome idea to practice all night.
Yeah, and my parents will never know I'm gone. I put my brother's blow-up doll underneath my sheets.
Oh.
Yeah, she would do these little things as Ariana, like to give the character neurosis. Like, just if it was a little sigh or nervous laughter or something like that, she was very expressive in her face, and just the little like breaths that she would take. It's like something as a sketch performer I always admire when I notice those little things, those little small beats that Cheri thought about, does naturally, whatever, but they're out there, And this is if not Barbara Walters, maybe Ariana the cheerleader could be up there as far as like the quintessential Cheri, especially physically. Like as a physical performer, I'll put Ariana right up there.
And then one other recurring character that I want to make sure we talk about, and I think we only got this one a handful of times, but Althea, the little child who in one sketch is on a plane and another is on a bus. Cheri just going full on annoying child in her like layers of pink jackets and clothing and just embodying that hyper chaotic says anything kid. I especially love the one with Chevy Chase as the pilot. I feel like to me that's the one that stands out.
Captain Burke, we're going to visit my Aunt Jane in Colorado where it's cold. My Aunt Jane has a life partner. Her name is Judy. They're not married, they're life partners. Life partners!
Althea, come on now. Watch the controls now.
Life partners!
Will any flight attendant please report to the cockpit? Any flight attendant, please report to the cockpit. Run to the cockpit.
Captain Burke, I want to drugs, no I.
That's the one actually, the Althea on a plane, she actually auditioned with that too. So that's like part of her audition reel.
Gotcha,
I think she had the knit cap and everything, like the glasses. Like it was fully formed in the audition. Like it didn't seem like they changed much at all from the audition to the air.
It does feel like one that like, I feel like there are certain characters where they feel like, okay, this person like cared to develop this and it has that kind of like personal touch. And I can absolutely see that with this one, right? It just seems like a character that she knows that she can embody very naturally. This is just a really fun, and I feel like, especially in the plane one with Chevy, the like deadpanness of his character and the like annoying, just chattering away child of her character is just, it's such a fun match and made for an awesome sketch.
Yeah, for sure. And she would say things like not just weird things as a child, but she would say like really precocious, like things that like an adult would say, or maybe she's repeating what an adult told her. But she would kind of like surprise the audience a little bit, or the person she was interacting with, by saying something really mature and adult, like something beyond, like you shouldn't know that, or you shouldn't be saying that, or that's kind of interesting that you're saying that. So I like that layer to this character. It's a really fun one.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I feel like this is one that just feels very like true to Cheri and like everything that she embodies.
Yeah, there was a along the lines, I think, of like a Colette or Althea, there was a one-off. I don't know if you had a chance to see this one. Her name's Roberta. Cheri did this like in the 6th episode of her first season. So she played somebody named Roberta, and it was this dad work colleague who invited herself over to Thanksgiving dinner. So it was just very weird energy. She was very inappropriate. I'm surprised this actually wasn't a recurring character, because this happened really early on in Cheri's career. But she just said these like weird things that she thought were just normal, but everybody at the table was like, oh my gosh, I want to say Jennifer Aniston was in the sketch. But y'all should go look up Roberta, because it's like a spiritual cousin to somebody like Colette or Althea or even Rita, like one of these just crazy characters. So I wanted to throw out a one-off.
Oh, that's so exciting! Are Sarah jetting off to Paris?
Have you ever been to Scranton?
Nope.
Don't count it out. The beauty of the skyline alone made me do a double take. I stayed at the airport Ramada.
Ooh, Ramada.
It was funny because they hadn't washed the sheets. And
I'm sorry, how is that funny?
You didn't let me complete the tale.
Oh, well. Okay.
The other one-off one that I love is with John Goodman, playing Adele as the like flirty office character. Just like basically coming in kind of dressed in her like scantily clad outfit, saying things that are very obvious innuendo and then like going the next mile of explaining every little thing. Like this one to me is just like really funny, and again, great writing and like all of the different like innuendos that they throw out there, but she super committed, just like very physically on every person in the sketch. It was a fun one.
Yeah? Well, this boy's got one thing in his pants that I'd like to wrap my sweaty little mitts around. I'm talking about putting my hands on your penis.
Yes, and again, there's no confusion there. Adele, we got it. Thanks.
Well, speaking of getting it, I'm gonna head over to the old icebox and get my oyster platter. What you looking at, fellas? Is it broke?
Yeah, she's totally owning the room in that too, like the office. Like she's just kind of making her way, going to everybody. I think I remember at one point she says something suggestive to Rachel Dratch.
Yes.
And Rachel Dratch is like, "I'm just an intern.
Yeah,
I don't,
exactly.
I'm just a temp. Why are you doing this?" And so that was a really funny one. Yeah, that probably could have been a recurring character.
Yeah.
As well, I could have seen like obvious innuendo lady or
yeah, like in different settings. Like we had the office setting and put her in other like various professional worlds. I feel like would have been.
Yeah, for sure. There's one. I think I said something like she puts a lot of love. Like it doesn't seem like she dislikes any of her characters. If there was one where it was more so making fun of a type, and maybe you could sense like there's some sort of meanness underneath the surface, it was with the morning latte one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Morning latte. She and Will, the dynamic duo again. They first did this I think in season 23, and then they just did a run of them. Famous ones with like Chris Farley was in a really famous one. Just a lot of like hyper dumb energy. Jamie, I love these ones.
Yeah, these are great. I feel like just that kind of perfect morning talk show shtick. And I know we've seen that from like a few cast members over the years, but something about this one and this pairing, we talked a little bit about like the improv vibe a little, but I get that from this as well, of just like two great people sitting down, having fun. I know Cheri has mentioned this as like one of her favorite recurring sketches at some point, and it does just feel like fun riffing and just a little bit different from some of her other characters in a way that's kind of fun, like crazy, but like in a different way, and more of that like contained talk show, still weird but different kind of weird.
Yeah, they were just so funny. Like they were uninformed about what was going on in the world. Like, so we're recording this the day after Joe Biden announced he was stepping down as the Democratic nominee. This is something that the morning latte people would be surprised by the following morning. Or they'd be like, "Did you hear that Joe Biden?" Like they would just say it with such surprise because they don't follow the news, but they're supposed to be talking about a part of this like morning show. They have terrible taste in movies.
Cass, how was your weekend? Did you and Eli finally see Good Will Hunting?
No, I did something even better. We saw Spice World.
Ooh, that's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Frank, have you seen Spice World yet?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, you know what I found myself saying after I saw this film? Move over Hard Day's Night.
No kidding.
These gals are fabulous.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, they have got more talent than anything out of Britain or England.
Wow.
Do you like when sketches have like familiar beats within the sketch? How is that for you as a viewer?
I do really like that, actually. I feel like I don't know if it's like the comfort or just the style of, I don't mind that at all. As long as the jokes are there to kind of hold it up still, I like that. And I feel like for this one in particular, there was something about that just like kind of dim, like, I don't know if that's the right word, but just like not quite there a little bit, like you said, in their own worlds. Combining that with like the talk show format was like enough to me. Sometimes you don't have to like try to reinvent the wheel or do something crazy. Like it worked because the performers were great, and I think that's that's a testament to
Yeah.
to Cheri and to the cast.
For sure. They would always involve their producer. So like a lot of times the host would play. So like John Goodman, Chris Farley, they would involve the producer. I love the bit where Will would say a word and Cheri would interrupt him and confidently give a definition that was wrong. And she would just say it so confidently, like, and of course that means this. And then Will would say like, no, like I love those beats. They did a perfect caricature of those cheesy morning show. I was part of a morning zoo radio show, so I can kind of relate a little bit to that.
This is something I don't think it's talked about enough. And maybe within like SNL fan community, sure, but like I feel like there needs to be just like a giant reel of all of these like just great quotes and great moments from this. I feel like it holds up. And sure, some of the pop culture stuff is very much a relic of the time, but the jokes and the dim-wittedness of these characters and how funny that can be, I think does really hold up.
Yeah, absolutely. Go back and like deep dive, like binge on these morning lattes. I found some on TikTok. So I Google searched and then they came up on TikTok a lot, surprisingly.
I've been seeing that more and more for SNL clips. Like, and I'm not a big TikToker, but I am like, okay, this is kind of refreshing to me that like that's out there in another way for people to kind of discover moments from the show's years past.
Yeah, I don't know the TikToks very well, but if they have a lot of SNL sketches, I'll probably visit a lot more.
Yeah.
She did another, we talked about the Barbara Walters impression. She did another impression that really stood out to me, but I want to give the floor to you. I want to see if our brains align with maybe the next one that's on your mind. I'm just kind of curious. A little experiment here, Jamie. So what do you got for us next?
Yeah. I mean, this one was probably going to be, I think the only other one I had for a recurring that I definitely wanted to talk about was Zimmerman's.
Okay.
But I don't think that's what yours is, because you're saying yours is an impression, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I want to hear your thoughts on the Zimmermans, though.
Oh, I mean, the Zimmermans, gosh, so fun. So we have her and Chris Kattan as this, like, super, always breaking out into very inappropriate, over-the-top, sexual moments and just, like, can't keep their hands off of each other. And these are just so funny to me. Like, going from the, like, sexually charged madness to nothingness and to often, like, blaming the other person in the room, like, the other couple or whoever else is around in the sketch for, like, oh, you guys are inappropriate, or, oh, how dare you? Like, I feel like that in some cases was, like, the conclusion. But just these moments of, like, kind of like one-upmanship of just how over the top, like, sexual energy, how much they can bring to the table was just so genius, so fun to watch and to rewatch. Like, I feel like if folks haven't revisited these in a while, they, to me, really hold up in terms of the physical comedy and, like, just some of the moments and just how some stuff that I'm actually like, okay, you got that on TV. And I know obviously it's late at night and that's the business of SNL, but some pretty, like, vulgar stuff I feel like they got in there, which was fun.
They did. I know it was pretty risque. And Chris Kattan's a cast member who I've had a mixed kind of relationship as a viewer with. I wasn't always the biggest Chris Kattan fan, but I think Cheri brought some good parts of Chris Kattan out in these sketches. They have a similar energy, so I can see how their kind of energies play off each other well. Even though I really think Cheri is a much better sketch performer than Chris Kattan, had a better SNL career. But I think she brought out the good parts of Chris Kattan in these. That's why I do like watching these.
Agreed. Yeah, I feel like that was a pairing that I enjoyed seeing. And I have a similar kind of thing with Chris Kattan of, like, different doses or different moments is, like, the right amount for me. But I do feel like there's a little bit of a parallel to me. And I do hear them sometimes get talked about in, like, similar conversations and just as some parallels, I think, with the roles they played and just their, like, relationship with the show itself. But this one to me is just, like, taking those parallels and, like, putting it to good use. Because there could be a world where, and sometimes this did happen, like, both of them was too much for one sketch. But this is, like, you're pairing them romantically and, like, telling them to just go all at it and have fun with it. And it works.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is worth a deep dive for a lot of SNL fans. It's a fun revisit, and it captures the era a lot, because we were talking about like goofball sketches that coming off the heels of not so goofball, maybe more mean stuff. They're like, yeah, so this is like a good example of kind of that goofball energy. She did an impression though, Judge Judy.
Oh
that
that's
I really,
a good one. Yeah.
really love. She played Judge Judy like perfectly, no nonsense, tough lady. Fun interplay between her and Tracy Morgan as the bailiff. So I really enjoyed her Judge Judy. I thought it did great justice to the real Judge Judy.
Hey, look at me. Look at me. I'll take a pig to the butcher when I want to eat bologna. Got it? Okay, got me?
Hot judge, cold cuts.
All right, Miss Diamond, what sort of training do you have? What's your background as a clown?
I never took no courses, but my mother really encouraged me. Whenever the circus came to town, she would drop me off and leave me there for a few days.
Did your mother teach you how to make those disgusting animal balloons?
No, they are my own design, tight ass.
Hey, I'm the only tight ass in this courtroom. It's right here. Right here. Okay?
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch, because that's what I didn't watch for my rewatch here, but I remember, from years past. So, if that one is available easily, I'll revisit that one.
Again, I think that a lot of them are on TikTok. So, like, just the little beats. Like, she came up with little sayings that were funny. She would say things like, I'll take a pig to the butcher when I want to eat bologna, or I'll grind the organ when I want the monkey to dance, and just like these little Judge Judyisms. Judge Judy actually came on as herself one time, and I thought that was pretty fun. Like, sometimes I'm hit or miss on like when the actual person comes on, but I think Cheri reacted pretty funny to the real Judge Judy, and she kind of interjected sometimes, and Judge Judy would tell her to go away, and so I thought that was fun. So I think Judge Judy, she did about 5 of them. I think so. So I think it's worth a revisit for Cheri Oteri's another really good impression. I think Judge Judy. So Jamie, post SNL, Cheri Oteri. So not a ton. So she did guest appearances here and there. She was in Shrek the Third, Grown Ups 2. I'm a big Curb Your Enthusiasm fan, so she was in her memorable episode of Curb for me. A lot of voice acting for animated shows. She was in Scary Movie, the first one, but she never found a project to lead. So do you think it was like a missed opportunity by studios, or did something about her style not translate post SNL?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I feel like her comedy on the show was very much like going all in on these zany, wacky characters, and I could see that leading to a situation of like, okay, how do we actually like take this and put this in more of a film or like TV outside of sketch comedy role. I think that is part of it. I know she's talked a little bit about how like she, like on SNL, it was about like comedy first as opposed to like acting outside of sketch comedy, and how people have a tendency to kind of like then put you in that lane. And I think that may be part of it. She's someone who, like, when she does pop up though, I always really enjoy seeing her, and like Curb is a perfect example. She's great on that. She
like
had
an
a guest
old
star.
friend coming to say hello.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she popped in on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is one of my favorite shows. Like, was happy to see her there. So I'm okay with that, and I don't know what like her goal is or like what she wants or wanted from her career, but I am okay that some cast members aren't like blockbuster every month kind of vibe, that's not the direction their career took. Like I like seeing her when she does pop up. I hope we continue to see those little bits and pieces, and I do love her in the comedy roles, and I don't know if that's again what she wants or if she's wanting to expand beyond that, but I'm happy having her pop up in some of these great shows from time to time.
No, I completely agree. Like, they're not all going to be Will Ferrell and just be a blockbuster movie star. It's not going to happen with every cast member. So I'm completely with you. I think the thing that maybe is more unfortunate that's impacted her legacy on SNL amongst fans is I don't think she's come back to SNL.
Yeah.
Like, really at all since she left the show in 2000. And I think that kind of sucks, Jamie. I think that's unfortunate. I don't know particular reasons why. I've kind of heard maybe some stuff, but I don't know about you, but I think we're missing out on like Cheri Oteri not coming back to the show.
Agreed. I feel like she's less integrated to like the clique of SNL where you see, okay, this person has a show. They're going to bring in all their SNL friends, and you just see this kind of world. And there can be many reasons for that. Again, I know there are like different theories of like, oh, she was tough to work with or this and that. And like, I personally have kind of tried to give her the benefit of the doubt among that kind of discourse, just because don't know what happens. I haven't, nothing that's been horrible where I'm like, oh my gosh, we cannot talk about this person in the history of SNL. I feel like she is somebody who, again, is not super connected with like some of the other folks in the show, and I don't know why, and I don't even know that like I could. There may be valid reasons for that. There may be invalid reasons. I don't know. I guess what I will say is like it's a bummer in the sense of like I would love to see her come and host, and she would be a phenomenal host. So if those circumstances change and she does become more integrated and we get to see more of her in that context, that would be an amazing bonus. But also if it's a situation where she did her time and that was a period in her life and now she's doing other things, I'm okay with that too. But the more Cheri, the better.
Yeah, right. I know. And I don't want to, it's hard to speak to like the dynamics between her and her cast members because we weren't there. We don't know. One thing that she has said, though, she said she was nervous a lot around the office. She said she would get really nervous before sketches. She was nervous during the week. So she said she was like this ball of nerves when she was at SNL. She craved the approval from Lorne. She really did. She told a story about how Norm had to kind of talk her down before a sketch or something. Like she just was always just this ball of nerves. And maybe she was so nervous that like it kind of prevented her from forging those tight bonds. And because I would love, like, we see Dratch come back, we see Molly Shannon, Cheri Oteri was such a significant, arguably bigger than like a Dratch or somebody like that. But I mean, do you think like her not coming back has hurt her legacy a little bit on the show?
I think it makes her maybe less known or less talked about in like the fabric of the history of the show. To me, it doesn't change the like legacy of what she did for the years and the seasons that she was on the show, and doesn't diminish the work. It maybe contributes to this kind of like underrated vibe that comes across, because I feel like as a result of not being in some of those places, she does get talked about less. And so then when she is talked about, it's like, oh wait, don't forget about Cheri. She was amazing too, and also part of redefining this era. So I think that's where I see the connection.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think our discussion here hopefully has caused people to go back and remember and just kind of say like, oh yeah, Cheri Oteri, she actually was that great. So hopefully this can go towards serving that. So now's the time, part of the show where you kind of speak to the voters, you speak to the audience, you're speaking to the water cooler, and I don't know, Jamie, tell them, why should SNL fans still hold Cheri in high regard as a great cast member?
Absolutely, yeah. So Cheri was part of this crucial era of redefining SNL, saving SNL, really showing folks a new way that SNL can be funny. I feel like she was a trailblazer for female comedians on the show. I feel like she paved the way for a lot of the greats that we saw in years to come alongside her cast. I feel like the timing that she had, her ability to excel and really own these character-based sketches was phenomenal. She had this incredible ability to do over-the-top, crazy, fun characters so well, which were so important to that era of the show and what it was all about. And I think she really deserves her credit and props for that role that she played. So I absolutely think that Cheri should be remembered as one of the greats and for playing a critical role in SNL's history.
So there's that. Thank you so much, Thomas, and welcome back, Jamie Burwood. Really great to hear your voice extolling the virtues of Cheri Oteri. I got to tell you, when Thomas started to talk about impressions that Cheri Oteri was part of, and he mentioned Barbara Walters, I was immediately taken back, and I just think that character really exemplifies a lot of what she was capable of and able to do. It's silly, but it's on the mark, and it's a lot of fun. Let's take a listen.
And welcome to The View. We've got a fabulous show today, right, ladies?
Oh, we certainly do, Meredith. We certainly do.
Okay, let's take a look at the news. Paula Jones went face-to-face with President Clinton today. He gave his deposition regarding her sexual harassment suit. Now, Star, you're a lawyer.
Yes, I am. Now, President Clinton allegedly exposed himself to Miss Jones and allegedly asked for sex, and allegedly Miss Jones said no, which disappointed the president, allegedly.
You know, I was paired with Paula Jones in a three-legged race at Larry King's 4th of July barbecue bash. And she assured me that President Clinton's member had more twists and turns than the curly fries at Arby's.
It's true. Well, I just don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, if a guy whips it out, you just have to be assertive and say, like, hey, don't whip it out, you know?
You're very young, Debbie. Very, very young.
All right, this next story is amazing. Chicago physicist Richard Seed wants to open a clinic that would clone human babies. Amazing, right?
Now, allegedly, he's going to clone a baby by the year 2000, and what this means is that he's going to take a baby, and using science, he'll make an identical baby to that baby really, really soon.
You know, there are 3 people that I would clone. Albert Einstein, Diana, Princess of Wales, and Hugh Downs, my co-host this week on 2020.
Well, if I had a clone, I'd make out with myself. I'm just kidding.
Do not speak again.
Our guest today is a big star. She is one of the big actresses in the world, allegedly. Please welcome my girl, Glenn Close. You are strong and inspirational, and you are one of the whitest women I've ever seen.
I'm delighted to be here.
Glenn, you have done so much. Acted in award-winning films, performed on Broadway. Only one question remains. What do you think of me?
Well, Barbara, I admire you tremendously. I've always thought that...
You know what I have to ask you about? I want to ask you about that scene in The Big Chill where you let your husband get that other lady pregnant. I could not do that. Because I am a do-right woman, and I have to have me a do-right man.
Yes, we know that about you, Star. That's Star in a nutshell. That's Star in a nutshell.
Glenn, I have a question about John Malkovich.
What's that?
He is so sexy. Oh.
What's the question?
Oh, speaking of questions, it's time for the question of the day. Okay. Today's question comes from Marlene Kimball of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Glenn, this question should be really good for you. If you could change one thing about your face, what would it be?
Well, nothing. This face has served me very well. I think women need to embrace the uniqueness of their flaws. Wouldn't you all agree?
If I could change one thing about my face, which is allegedly very big, I would tell those doctors to suck some of this fat out my neck.
Well, thank you, Glenn, for coming by.
That's it?
Oh my God! You know what I just realized? You're the mean lady from 101 Dalmatians.
Cruella DeVille. Yes.
Yeah,
Cruella
now I
DeVille.
know who you are. You're evil.
Stand over there! Go! Stand over there! Quicker!
Stick around. In our next segment, we'll be talking about female circumcision with Naomi Judd.
Oh, man. Yeah, that brings back some memories. That's like the original View cast that they were parodying there. And allegedly, I will say, Cheri Oteri has a path to the SNL Hall of Fame. I believe it. Not a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't think. We'll get more on the water cooler this week and see what Joe and Shari have to say. Next week, we are discussing Garrett Morris with our friend Darren Patterson, and it should be another great episode for you all. Now, that's what I've got for you this week. So, if you would do me a favor, and as you're leaving and walk past the Weekend Update exhibit, turn out the lights, because the SNL Hall of Fame is now closed.
Thanks for listening to the SNL Hall of Fame podcast. Make sure to rate, review, share, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media at SNL HOF. This is Doug DeNance saying, see you next week.
To podcasts and such.